Hello there, fourth year students. Today we are going to talk about the other forms of the objective language test, which are the true-false format and the matching format. So if we start with the true-false format, you can see that true-false questions are second in frequency to multiple choice questions. This means that they are as common as the multiple choice questions, but they come usually next to it. Okay, the difference between the true-false questions and the multiple choice question is that the true-false questions are usually a more specialized form. What does this mean? We can use the multiple choice questions to test or to make tests about different skills of language and different components of language. But when we come to the true false questions, we can find that they are more specialized. And what does this mean? It means that it can be used to make, for example, questions about reading comprehension passages, or it can be used to make questions about listening. Okay, after making the students listen for a certain passage or a certain conversation, you can make this type of questions, which is the true false questions. So not the components or the skills that can be tested throughout the true or false questions can be said to be limited, more limited than the ones that we tested throughout the multiple choice questions. Okay, usually when we write a true false question, the form that this question will take is going to be in a form of a statement. Okay, each item includes a statement, and through which or to which the students had to respond by choosing one of two options that we give them. And the options that we can use in these types of questions, I mean the true false questions, can be either true false, yes no, correct or incorrect, right or wrong, or fact or opinion. But because that the true false options are the most widely used one, that's why such type of questions are called or are labeled by this name. If we come to the advantages, the good points that from using these types of questions, we can say that different or large amount of content. I mean, if you are using it to test your students' understanding of the reading comprehension or a listening passage or conversation, you can test a large amount of content, large amount of information from the reading passage or from the listening passage throughout the true/false questions. Okay, second, they are shorter. Okay, because we said that the form that these types of questions take is usually a statement, so they are shorter in form than the other types of questions, that just like the multiple choice questions. Because with the multiple choice questions you have to write a stem and options. Okay, but in the true false questions, you have to write only a statement followed by two options only, either true or false. And that's why it will not take so much time from the students to respond. In order to ensure reliability of such a test, you have to include as more items as possible. Uh, and also, one of the good points or advantages of this type of questions is that it is quick and reliable in scoring, because as you know, it is a type of an objective test. Okay. But if we come to disadvantages, the weak points here, the disadvantages include the possibility of guessing. Because you are having here two options, either true or false, here there is a greater possibility to guess. And in order to avoid this, okay, here it is recommended for you to depend or to use a third response. So for example, if you are asking your students to say to choose true or false, add for them something else and another option, which is, for example, not given or I don't know. Is it clear? So in this case, here you are eliminating as much as possible the possibility of guessing on the part of the students when they answer such a question. They can be unreliable if a limited number of items used. So as you remember, we said reliability of such questions, the objective questions in general, I mean, that can be ensured if you are using as more items as possible. So if you are making a true false question, do not make it include limited to 3 or 5 items. Make it more than that. It is recommended to be 6, 7, and even 10. Okay, so in such a way, you are testing a large amount of information about the reading passage or the listening text, and at the same time, you are ensuring reliability. You are ensuring that the students are really answering depending on their understanding and not on their guessing. Okay, so, what are the tips that we can recommend or give for language teachers in order to write good formats of true false questions? First of all, it is recommended for those teachers to write items that test meaning rather than trivial details. So because you are tested, because if you remember, we said that this type of a question is used mainly to test reading comprehension or to test the listening. Okay, so here ask or make these types of questions ask about real things, meaningful things, and not all about let us say unimportant events or unimportant details found in the written passage. Okay. Number two, questions should be written at a lower level of language difficulty than the text. This is important. Why? Because here we want, from making such a question, we want to ensure that the students have really read the passage or listened to the passage carefully and understand it, and they are able now to answer questions about them. So here we want to test what the understanding of the students about the reading passage or about the listening test, and not their understanding about the question. That's why the question should be phrased or should be constructed in simple language that can be understood quickly or fast by the students, because it is not about, as we said, the question is not about understanding the question, but it is about understanding the passage itself. Okay, consider the effects of your students' background. So here you are testing again the students, what the students understanding of what they have read or what they have listened to, and you are not testing the background of your students, whether they know this information or not. So do not include or do not ask about information that is not found in the reading passage or in the listening test, because as we said before, we are testing their understanding of what they have read or what they have listened to, and not their general background or informational background. Questions should appear in the same order as the answers appear in the text. So when you make when you are testing reading comprehension by using the true false question, so make these items arranged according to the information that you have in the reading passage or you have in the listening test. Okay, make sure that you paraphrase the questions in simple and clear language. So again, the language that you are using in your test or in making such the items of such a question should be simple okay, clearly understood by the students, and they should not be taken directly from the reading passage or the listening test. No, try to paraphrase them by using a new vocabulary, but they are new vocabulary. Make sure that the new vocabulary that you are using or the new structures that you are putting the information in, they should be clearly understood and simple and suitable for the level of your language of your students in language. Avoid absoluteness clues, which means that do not use items like all, none, always, and never. It's usually these items, if these items are or words are not found in the text, do not use them, because these using this word will give your students a hint for the answer, whether if the answer is going to be true or false. Focus each item on a single idea from the text. So each item in the true false questions should test one thing only, one piece of information only, and not two things, because it is going to be too much for them, especially in the listening test. Avoid answer patterns. Okay, so do not make the answers in such a question arranged in a pattern. For example, number one is a true, so number two should be false, and number three is a true, and number four is going to be false. This is going to be what the students are going to be easily discover such a thing, and they will answer depending on understanding what that you are following a pattern, not on the what they understood from the passage. Include enough questions, and we said why, because here when you include more questions here, this will ensure the reliability of your test. Okay, add a third option, and here, as we said, this is important because here we want to eliminate or to remove the guessing factor from such questions. Okay, have students circle the answers instead of writing them on the test paper or the answer sheet. Sometimes the students may not or they do this on purpose. They write the F, okay, that refers to false, and T that refers to T in the same way. So when you come to correct such an answer, you do not know whether it is T or F. Is it clear? So in this case, in order to avoid such a thing done by students, okay, it is better to give them the answers written, and they have only to what to do to circle it. Okay, so these are the tips that can be given to language teachers in order to write true false questions. If we go to the the third form of the objective test, which is called the matching format. They say that it is an extended form of the multiple choice question. Why? Because here again we are having a stem, okay, and we are going to explain this later. Again, we are having a stem in each item, and there is an option. Okay, the difference is that the for each stem that we are going to have in the in the matching item is going to have only one option, or which is going to be the key answer. Okay, so it is different here from the multiple choice question in that we do not have more than one option, yani four or five options for each item or for each stem. No, for each stem there will be only one answer, which is going to be the key or the correct answer. The matching format can be used to make connections among ideas, vocabulary, and structure. The form of writing such a question, it is going to be in two columns of information, and the student or the testee has to match between them. The column that is put on the left hand is going to be called the premise or the stem, while the column that is going to be on the right hand will include the options or the responses. So as you see, this is an example of the matching item. You see that it consists of two columns, column A and column B. So you see in column A, which is on the left hand, on the left side of the screen, it consists four items, which are the premises or the stems, while the column B, which is on the left of the screen, includes the options or the responses. It is very important to note certain things about how to write such a matching question. You see, if you compare between the number of the options and the number of the premises, you are going to see that the options are more than the premises in column A. So you see here we have four premises in comparison with what? With five options or five responses. Why are we doing this? We are doing this in order to eliminate or to remove the possibility of guessing. Okay, but we know that for each one of these four premises, there will be what? How many correct answers or how many key answers? Only one. So one of the options in column B is not going to be used. Okay, this is one. Second, it is better, okay, it is highly recommended for the teachers to make a blank or to draw a blank beside or next to each premise in column A. It is going to be in this blank, the student is going to be required to write what the letter of the correct answer that matches the information you have in each premise in column A. This will be easier for you as a teacher to mark or to grade the answers of your students better than, okay, making them draw lines, because here you are not going to know or to recognize easily this line comes from which item in the premise and goes where to which item or which response or which option in the in column B. Okay. The third important thing that I want you to recognize here is that the premises usually are numbered. Okay, we use with them numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, while with the columns you see that we are not using numbers. We have to use what? Letters: A, B, C, D, and E. This is going again to be easier for the students to recognize in an answer so they are going to write for you which letter fits or matches which information or which number in column A in the premises, and instead of using both of them numbers, and this will going to be confusing for what? For both the students and the scholar or the teacher. Okay, so we come now to the advantages of the matching formats. You see, as we said that unlike the multiple choice questions, there are more distractors per item. So for each premise, you are having how many distractors? You are having 5, but there is only, as we said, one key answer. Okay. Number 2, writing items is somewhat easier for teachers than the multiple choice questions or the true-false questions. It is easier to make them contextualized than either, again, the multiple choice questions or the true-false questions, and I'm going to show you how in the next slide. The matching format can be used with different ages of learners and in testing different components and the skills of language. Okay, so in this slide, as you see, there are 3 forms of the matching question items. In the first picture, which is on the left, you see that the premises in column A, they have they consist of pictures of animals, while in the responses in column B, they have the vocabulary or the words that can refer to any one of these pictures. So I think that you know that such a type or such a form of the matching question can be suitable for children. It is going to be easier to be tested throughout pictures, and also the answer is going to be made easily by by children, because all they need to do is what, to draw a line between the picture and the vocabulary that it represents. So here there's no need for writing, or there's no need to choose things or to read things depending on and or depend on understanding. Okay, so here such a format, you see that it is going to fit, be more suitable for children than the multiple choice items or the true false items. If we come to the second picture, which is in the middle, you see that the teacher is asking his or her students to match the questions with their answers. And you see, as you see the questions, like for example, what's your name, where do you live, how old are you, when is your birthday. These are the questions that we usually have in our real life conversations, or they are taken from real context that we may encounter in our daily life. And here we are testing some sort of communication, so they are going to be, or they can be more contextualized. And this is again another advantage that we cannot see in what we can see rarely in what in the multiple choice questions, and not we cannot find them in the true false questions. If we come to the third picture on the left, sorry, on the right, we see that it is going to be more specialized. Okay, it tests a higher level of thinking, it tests higher level of knowledge with students, with higher level of with advanced students. Here, as you see, it is a kind of a question that can be used in the IELTS, in which the testees are asked about the writing an essay or a writing task. So you see here in the premises, in the column that is on the left, we have what, introduction, main body 1, main body 2, and conclusion, and we know that they are what, the parts of the essay. While in the next column, which is on the right, we are having the improvements that can be made in each one of these sections. Okay. Okay, finally, we are going to present some tips for language teachers in order to write good matching formats. These tips start with give more options than premises, and we said before why, because this will eliminate the factor of guessing. Number two, give numbers to premises, while while options should be given letters. Make options shorter than premises, and here this will reduce reading load on the part of the students, so they will not read so much or for a long time. Read the premise and read the options. If if the options are long, this will take a long time from them to read, and again this will affect the time that they will need to answer, to understand and answer. Okay, make sure that all the matching items appear on the same page, because you know that such a test consists of two columns. Okay, and these two columns are related to each other. They should match which option or which response fits which premise. That's why it is highly recommended that when you print your questions, such a question or the items of such a question should be all of them on the same page, in order to make it easier for your students to read, understand, and consequently answer correctly. Okay, make it clear to students if they can use the correct answer in a blank provided more than once. So here, if it is important, or if you are obliged to use or to make the correct answer, or one of the options that can be used more than once with more than one premise, here you should mention this as a note in the instruction of the question. It is not recommended. You should not do that. You should make for each premise in the left column has only one key answer from the right column. Okay, but if you are obliged to do that, you should make this sure or clear for your students. Okay, Finally, ask your students to write the letter of the correct answer in a blank provided next to each premise. So here, as we said, it is better for you, your students, and for you as a teacher and scholar to put a blank next to each premise, and in this blank they are going to what to write the correct answer, or the letter of the correct answer that they are going to take from column B in the what in the right and on the right hand, because it is going to be easier for you, as we said, for the students to recognize the correct answers and for the teacher and the scholar to mark or grade such answers. Okay, so with this we have finished talking about the objective test or language test formats, and in the next class we are going to talk about the subjective ones. Okay, thank you and see you.